Oh, man. Good to see you all. And we are continuing our serious moment of peeling back the mask off the faces of our people as we start the process of getting our city really back to the level of normality that I am going to do in a very safe and a very strategic way so that we can get the city up and operating with not reverting back to the days when COVID controlled our lives. And I always stated that we were going to follow the numbers and follow the science. Every morning, speaking with Dr. Fassan and our entire team, talking about what steps we should take. And I have just the greatest level of just support from the team on how we get this right. The Department of Education is on the calls. The health department is on the call. All of our senior leadership is on the call. We take this issue so seriously, and we're going to continue to do it in the right way. And so we're currently at a low-risk environment, and so today we are announcing that if the numbers continue to show a low level of risk, let me say that again, if the numbers continue to show a low level of risk, mask will be optional for 2 to 4 years old students in schools and in daycare. We're going to start this on April 4th. Dr. Fassan was clear that we wanted 2 incubation periods, and he'll explain that when he comes up to the podium, to make sure that after removing the mask for our K through 12. We wanted to have 2 incubation periods to make sure that we're not seeing a serious problem and we continue to be in a low place. And so it's important for parents, it's important for students, and let me tell you something, it doesn't matter what decisions you make on this, you're going to have vociferous people on both sides of the conversations. And so we can't go by the noise. We have to go by the science, and we have to go by the safety of our children. And so we want to see our baby faces. I said this over and over again. But the enthusiasm of seeing our baby faces, speaking with parents in the street, I kept and will continue to say, we have to do this right and get this right. And our children want to see the faces of their loved ones. Every call that I receive from children, from parents in 2 to 4 years old that say, can you do it right away? I get another call from parents who are in school with or daycare with the children saying, can you please don't do it? So let's not think that this argument or this conversation is one-sided. It is not. We're getting a large number of parents that are saying, please don't take the mask off the children in school. We're getting a large number that are saying, please take the mask off. So the only way you do it right is to follow the science and follow the numbers, and that is what we're doing. It takes a lot of discipline to do so because this is a city where New Yorkers are not afraid to tell you what they think about you. And so you have to be willing to be thick-skinned enough to do what's right for the city. And so since we removed the mask mandate for K to 12 students, our percent of positivity has remained low, which is a great sign that we are moving at the right pace and doing the right thing. And so now it's time to peel back another layer in this entire initiative. Many of you have heard the opinions on this conversation, but we have to get it right, and it's imperative that we do so. I can't have my city and our city closed down again. I cannot see the real issues around our children dealing with hospitalization. And some people will point to say, well, the hospitalizations are low. And Dr. Fassan is clear on every call. We should have a zero tolerance for hospitalization for our children. We can't merely say it's low, and it was really informative with Dr. Fassan. I hope you touch on it today about some of the long-term illnesses that children who are hospitalized is experiencing. COVID is a level of uncertainty that none of us know what is the impact of COVID and the long-term impacts that we're going to experience. And I'll be darned if I'm going to look back later and say I made decisions because of the loud noises I'm hearing. We are going to look back in our rearview mirror at this moment we've had of this uncertainty, and the most prudent, thoughtful, meticulous individuals who are moving at the right pace, history is going to be kind to. And I'm going to be among them because I'm going to make the right decisions for our city so our children are safe, our families are safe, and we can get our city back up and operating. So I want to turn it over to the Commissioner of the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, an individual that I'm glad that we have him on our team for so many reasons, as we deal with the mental health aspects of this, as we deal with other components of how we're going to deal with COVID. So Dr. Fasad, turn it over to you. You got more print than me this week, man.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor said, our current COVID-19 risk level remains low. While cases are increasing slightly, our hospitals have plenty of capacity and our admissions remain low. And a big thanks to Dr. Katz and his team at Health and Hospitals for ensuring that that's the case. Less risk means more choices for New Yorkers about which precautions are mandatory and which are optional. That's why, if things remain as they are over the next 2 weeks, children between the ages of 2 to 4 years old will have the option of removing their masks in schools and childcare settings in early April. Over the next 2 weeks, we will continue to watch the numbers closely, as we have throughout our pandemic response. And if we see the levels of risk rise, either before or after the mandate is lifted, we may be here having another conversation. However, right now, we feel comfortable saying that if the risk level holds, masks can become optional for our youngest New Yorkers. These changes are possible because of the many public health tools that guard against the worst outcomes of COVID-19, particularly vaccines, including boosters, and treatment, including antiviral pills, which are our newest tools in the response. The Surgeon General of the United States, Vivek Murthy, said it best. We have more tools than ever before. Our focus should be on preparation, not on panic. We want New Yorkers to be prepared if there is another wave, but able to engage with the world according to their comfort level. Get vaccinated, and if your time has come to get a booster, please do so today. And know that treatment is widely available. It works best if started soon after you begin feeling symptoms. So get tested right away, and if you test positive, call 212-COVID-19 to get the treatment that's right for you. Finally, as a parent, I have experienced how personal this issue of masks can be in playgrounds, at schools, and in my own neighborhood, and certainly on my social media. Whatever we require as a city, some children and some parents will choose to stay masked, and some will not. Let's be respectful of whatever choice families make. Let's be kind to each other when it comes to how we each manage our own risk. You don't know what life circumstances someone might be accounting for in their choice to remain masked. Let's remember that our shared experiences over the past 2 years should be a bond, not a wedge. We've been in this together, and the only way to get through this is, indeed, together. Our collective well-being and our mental health now and into the future depends on us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bond, not a wedge. And you missed when he said, Marsha, his social media. You know, now that he's the face of this all. Let me bring my two partners in government, Councilwoman Shulman and Councilman Moya.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the mayor for following the science and the logic. And we need to see the lovely faces of our kids, but we definitely have to monitor the situation, and we all are going to do that. But this is being done in a very safe way, and we will all benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank the mayor, the commissioner, for really looking out for the best interests of all New Yorkers, but especially those that are most vulnerable and the most precious, which are our children. As we go and we monitor the science, as it was told right here, it's really important that we look at what is the best and the safest route for our children, and that's what's being done here today. I'm proud to stand here with the administration and looking forward to working with all New Yorkers on how we get through this pandemic together. Thank you.
Thank both of you for being here. And of course, we got Dr. Katz. And you want for DOE? DOE? Yes. Why don't you do that?
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everybody. We're so excited to be here to announce this additional step under the Mayor and Chancellor Banks' Stay Safe, Stay Open policy. We have been able to do exactly that, stay open but stay safe. Dr. Vasson talked about the extremely low levels of infection that we're seeing in our schools right now, and our schools are all open every day for all of our students, and we're seeing attendance rates up over 20% from where we were in January. So we're very pleased to see this additional step for our little ones. We have definitely heard from plenty of parents and students who are looking for this step, and we hope, as the mayor says, it's another step in the return to normalcy so we can get back to thinking full-time about helping our kids learn and grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll do a few on topic for the doctor or me.
Yes, two questions, Mayor. First of all, if the numbers are so good, why not also lift the private employer mandate at the same time? And the second question is, Governor Hochul yesterday said that cases are actually going up. So why make this decision now at a time when BA2 is trending in the wrong direction?
Safest place for children is in the school. And you must pivot based on each encounter to make sure we get it right. And we believe we're doing that. And Dr. Fassan, if you want to respond to Andrew over there.
On the issue of cases, cases is just one data point we're looking at to calculate our overall risk levels. I think what we know about BA.2 is that it is more transmissible. It is not yet shown to be more severe in any way. And we are going to see some rise in cases. We are more prepared than ever to tolerate that in our hospital systems, but also with all of the tools we have in the community to keep ourselves safe, keep ourselves out of the hospital in the first place. For New Yorkers, that means go get vaccinated, go get fully vaccinated, or go get boosted. And if you do test positive, get treated right away.
For the doctor. So doctor, what about the BA2 in relation to children? Do you see any particular effects on that, or long-term effects, or are kids getting sicker because of the
As we said with BA2, we're not seeing any signs that it causes more severe illness in any age group as yet. We did see, as we saw in Omicron, pediatric cases rose significantly, much as they did with overall cases. At this point, we're very concerned about the long-term effects of COVID in everyone. We're concerned about the long-term effects in our children, and we're constantly monitoring that. Right now, overall risk remains low. Overall cases in children remain low. Hospitalizations in children remain low, which is giving us comfort to make this decision at this point.
Yeah, so Dr. Vossen, following up on Friday's press conference, you had mentioned that children under the age of 5 are disproportionately getting hospitalized compared to all children. And this announcement specifically talks about kids 2 to 4. So I was wondering, why is that number being specified in terms of that specific age range? Or is that kind of the same as when we're saying under 5, those are the kids that are old enough to wear masks? So can you kind of specify kind of a little bit of follow-up on my colleagues' questions about why now, especially with children possibly getting hospitalized, and also just targeting this 2 to 4 age range? Can you just specify that, please?
We've only ever, so thanks for the question. We've only ever mandated masks for children 2 and up, understanding that for babies, it's just really hard to get them to mask. My son won't keep a mask on, or hadn't until he turned around 2.5, so it's tough. So that's why we're talking about 2 to 4 specifically. Hospitalizations have consistently remained higher in this age group compared to other age groups, pediatric age groups. They still remain higher, but they overall remain extremely low. So while the relative difference might be high, the overall, the absolute level is very low, which gives us comfort to do this now.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Health Commissioner, this is a question for both of you. The parents who argued that they were wanting to see the mask taken off these young kids argued that this comes at a time when development is very crucial in terms of socialization, speech development, and things like that. And I wonder if those concerns also played a role in your decision to unmask the kids because it's such a crucial time in terms of development. It's for both of you.
I think the research is still very early on the impact of masking on social and emotional and language development. It's still quite early to tell if and what that impact may or may not be. I understand the concerns, certainly, of parents that think that way and feel that way. We're trying to make this decision based on the COVID data, that what we know about the pandemic, what we know about children's risk of getting COVID and getting sick and hospitalized from COVID.
You thought that masking would affect their long-term development in terms of ability to function well in school?
Again, I think it's too early to tell whether there will be any long-term impacts. COVID's only been around for a couple of years. What we do know is that children do catch up very quickly from other traumas of being taken out of school. We know this from disaster settings, from humanitarian settings, where children aren't able to go to school for long periods of time. We know that they can catch up in certain age ranges, but this is a different situation.
Part of your thinking as well, because we know a lot of parents made that argument to you, and I wondered if that played a role in your thinking.
I think the doctor really answered that question well. Let's be clear. This is unprecedented territory we are in right now. And anyone that can say what the short-term, long-term, what's going to happen, if anyone is saying that, they're lying. And that's why the doctor said we need to research. We don't know what COVID is going to put in the future for all of us. And we just have to make the right decisions, the best decisions based on the science, based on the information, and really based on the compassion. Because, people this has been a very strenuous period for people around COVID. So we got to make the right decisions.
This is also a question for both you and the doctor. Regarding the private employer mandate, what are you guys still looking at in order to lift that specific mandate? And concerning the Yankees and the Nets, is that something that you're getting pressure on from sports teams also come opening day? And yeah, just what are you still looking at in order to lift that mandate?
Well, first, the pressure part. I do not feel any pressure doing this job at all because I'm going to do what's right. That is what I'm going to do. Let me tell you what pressure is. Pressure is being a transit cop in 1984, riding the trains by yourself with a radio that didn't work. I'm ready for what it takes to move our city forward. We're going to do it in the right way. We're going to follow the science. I trust, and that's why we brought Dr. Fassan, Dr. Katz, our team together. We're going to make the right decision. And in New York, no matter what you do, this is 8.8 million people and 30 million opinions. So you're never going to satisfy New Yorkers. So you must go with the logic, your heart, and the science. And so we're going to slowly peel back. As I stated over and over again, we're going to do it layer by layer. And each layer we peel back, we're going to do an analysis. Are we okay? And if we have to pivot and shift and come back here in a week and say we're going to do something different, we're going to do that. I'm not going to hesitate to say, this is where the numbers are taking us, this is where the science is, and this is what we're going to do. Because I'm not going to only view this from where we are in the crisis. I see myself out of crisis. And people are going to look back later, like they did with the schools. Remember what they did to us when we were talking about keeping the schools open? You know, I said, don't worry about the noise team. We're going to do the right thing for our children, and people are going to look back later and say, you know what, we don't want to admit it, but this administration got it right. And they're going to do that again. So right now, we're going to take some complaints. But when this is all said and done, people are going to realize this is a thoughtful administration and we got it right. And so baseball, basketball, businesses, all of those things, they have to wait until that layer come. And right now, we're announcing just our 2 to 4 year olds.
Indicators though that are keeping that keeping that in place right now? Is there anything that you're like, we still want to wait? Like pressure points.
Yes. Believe it or not, a lot of our businesses, they love the mandates. You know, when I speak to a lot of my businesses, getting people back in the office, that mandate is allowing them to feel safe in the office for those who feel that they would rather the vaccine mandate to be in place. But again, we're going to do it in layers. And when we feel that it's the right time to look at that, if we do so at all, because the work environment is an important environment, we're going to make that determination. We're not there yet.
Does anyone have any more on topics? All right, we'll do one more on topic and we'll go to off. Go ahead, Michael.
This is for you guys, for the doctor and you, Mr. Mayor. You talked about following the science. We've heard that phrase a lot throughout the pandemic. What you're seeing in the science would trigger vaccine mandates for public school kids? Mr. Mayor, you said, I think before, that this is something you're looking at. But where are we on that? What's the timeline on that? Is it something that will happen? I understand there are considerations, concerns about parents yanking their kids out of school.
Getting our children vaccinated remains a huge priority of this administration. Our 5 to 11-year-old vaccination rates is behind other age groups. My colleagues at DOE, in partnership with us at DOHMH and H&H, have launched a concerted vaccination campaign for 5 to 11-year-olds across the DOE system this week to increase those numbers. I think we've seen time and again, mandates are an important tool to getting vaccination levels up. And as we mandate a lot of vaccines for children to go to school. And so we're looking at the data every day on our vaccination levels, as well as the state of the pandemic, to make those decisions at the right time.
We have time for a couple of off-topic questions.
Hi, Mayor. I was curious, I know you met with Governor Cuomo. Do you think he has a path to public office this year? Would it be wise for him to pursue one?
He has to make his decision. As I stated, I thought it was important for him to step down at the time, and I thought it was the right decision. And now he will make that determination on what he's going to do with his life in the future.
Mr. Mayor, Controller Landers out with a report this morning that says bail reform had a negligible impact on pretrial rearrest rates between 2019 and 2020. What data are you looking at in calling for rollbacks that he's not seeing in this very comprehensive report?
And what I say this term over and over again, there are many rivers that feed the sea of violence. We have to dam each one. So if you start peeling back and not damming each one, you'll say, well, it was only 5 guys that were repeated offenders. 5 shooters, 5 lives, 5 lives in shootings that's impacting our overall number. We had 29 shootings. 29 shootings. And I'm amazed that when I talk about these shootings and I talk about putting in place, the units to go after guns, that you have those who are more worried about the cops that are doing the job than the people who are shooting. I mean, this is the most fascinating thing I could think of. 29 shootings, and they're critiquing that Eric has the audacity to put a unit in the street to go after guns. So, if those who feel that, well, it's only been 5 cases of people who are shooters that were released, why are you complaining about those 5 cases? Let them do that. I complain about every dangerous person that's released. Everyone. We don't need dangerous people on our streets. And so when you look at with raise the age, carrying a gun, treating like a child, when you look at all of these other aspects, it's contributing to the sea of violence that we are experiencing.
Juliet, we have time for one more after.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How are you, Juliet?
I'm good, how are you? There's been already a lot of pushback after Governor Hochul's bail reform proposal came out. If parts or most of it aren't passed by the legislature, what is your next step in crime fighting?
And that's so important. That's a great question because I say this over and over again. I need help from the federal government to stop the flow of guns. When I was in Chicago last week speaking with Mayor Lightfoot, she took 12,000 guns off the street. I mean, that's a frightening number. Yet the guns keep coming. So I need the federal government. Let's go after those gun dealers. Let's beef up ATF. Let's do things that they're supposed to do. My blueprint to end gun violence, I pointed out what I needed from the state, what I needed from the federal government, and what I need to do as the mayor and the New York City Police Department. If I don't get the help from them, I still have to keep the city safe. I'm going to do my initiatives like we did yesterday. My guys were out, our police officers were out in the new unit for 6 days and removed 10 guns for 6 days. And so I need their help. But with or without their help, I have the finest police department on the globe, New Yorkers have. We're going to continue to execute our plan. We're going to put in place initiatives to try to stop the guns from coming in across our border at our port authorities and other locations. We're going to do our joint partnership that we do in the morning every day at 10 a.m. So we're going to push our initiatives forward. But I believe the public is going to start looking towards those who are not giving us the help that we need.
Trying to have more federal cases made against trigger pullers?
That's a great question. We met with the U.S. Attorney in the Southern and Eastern districts. We're hoping that they will look at some of these cases that we can get longer sentencing because of the crimes that are involved. But also, we think it's information sharing. We're looking at to see the legality around being able to share information across state lines. But we're hoping that the feds will take up more of these cases. We started preliminary conversations, and we're going to continue to speak with the Eastern and Southern District. We were happy to sit down with them. We think there's some great leadership there, and they see the need of dealing with this violence.
All right, we have time for one more. Go ahead, Emily.
Mr. Mayor, I want to take you back on topic. When you say baseball, basketball businesses are going to have to wait, does that mean you're considering lifting the private employer vaccination mandate? Because Commissioner Vaccination said on Friday he thinks that might be indefinite. So is it staying in place, or are you considering lifting it?
No, it does not mean that I am or I'm not. It means that they have to wait to find out what we're going to do. And I think the commissioner can speak for himself, but I thought there was a little creative journalism based on his interview.
All right, thank you.